So for my blog post, I decided to look at the Texas Slavery Project, which was one of the digital humanities projects offered. Basically, what the Texas Slavery Project focuses on, as seen in the title, is it examines the spread of American slavery into the borderlands between the United States and Mexico in the decades between 1820 and 1850. Um, and just to kind of go into this, it has four different sections you can look at. The first section is just kind of telling you about the project. It tells you the staff and sponsors and who put together this database. And then it also talks about where Texas Slavery Project has been seen in the news. So if I click on staff and sponsors, it's going to show me the project staff and all the people who worked on that staff group, and it's going to show me Andrew J. Torgert, who was the project's founder and director. And then for the sponsors, they were sponsored by the Virginia Center for Digital History and the Summerlee Foundation, who all put time and effort into creating this database for us to use. The next thing I want to focus on is the Explore the Maps. So within Explore the Maps, it gives us two options. It gives us Browse the Maps and About the Maps. When I click on About the Maps, it's going to tell us what each individual map does for us and what it can tell us. So for example, it says the county boundaries for the Republic of Texas were created by using Luke Journey's historical atlas, Texas Boundaries, and it just continues to go on and tell you how these graphs were created. So I'm going to actually click on Browse the Maps to kind of show you guys how it's very interactive and very easy to use. So when I click on this, it's going to load up, and there's going to be two sections. There's going to be a map features section and a populations section. And basically what you're seeing right now on your screen is a bunch of counties, and you can see that each county is a different shade, and this corresponds to the color scheme of the slave's legend and the slaveholder's legend. And when I click on this green play button, you can notice that the colors of the counties change due to during that year the number of slaveholders and the number of slaves in that individual area. So I'm just going to click and let you guys see the difference. As you can see, it's changing, and you can see that some of these counties have very drastic changes, and some stay stable throughout the whole time. So this kind of gives you an overview of all the counties. But say I wanted to look at one individual county, I could go over to the Map Features button over here, and I could click one of these counties available from Texas. So for just as an example, I'm going to click on Colorado, and it shows me. Let's move this down a little bit. I'm actually going to close that, and it shows me from 1837 to 1845 the number of slaves that were in the Colorado County. And if I were to click on total slaveholders, you'll also see that the color of the map changes with the total slaveholders. But then again, you can go back and you can see in each individual year what the total slaveholders were. The total slaveholders with 1 to 4 slaves, 5 to 9 slaves, 10 to 19 slaves, 20 to 49 slaves, and 50 plus slaves. And you can do this every individual year, going all the way from 1837 to 1845. And this is a really cool interactive aspect because it really lets the students or just people in general see the changes that occurred within Texas during this time period. And in the Graph the TSP database, it's kind of like the Texas Slavery Project maps, but it gives you kind of a more, not as a visual, but a more data-oriented graph. So again, you can choose individual county. So I'm going to choose, for this time, I'm going to choose Bexar. And the population, I'm going to do total masters with 5 to 9 slaves. And I'm going to add a county population line, and it's going to show me from 1837 to 1845, the total masters with 5 to 9 slaves within Bexar County, and it's going to tell me all that information from 1837 to 1845. So that's Explore the Maps region. Next, I want to focus on the database region. So basically within the database, you have browse and search, graphs and stats, and about. The about is just telling you about the database, about what the Texas Slavery Project is all about. The graphs and stats gives this is not interactive. This kind of just, you click on the link and it shows you a normal graph that you cannot fix or you cannot change. So if I wanted to know the increase in population of slaves within Texas, I could click on this link and it would show me from 1837 to 1845 the increase in population of slaves. And it's just kind of, you can just read the titles. So if I wanted to know the slaveholders divided by slaves held, this is a pie series, and you can see at the bottom here it kind of gives you the corresponding colors. So slaveholders with 1 to 4 slaves, you can see that it's a very majority of the amount, and then from 5 to 9 slaves all the way up to 50 plus slaves, it shares just over a quarter of the total number of slaves held. Going back to the database, I'm going to actually click on, this time, browse and search. And this gives you a more defined look at to what you want to find out about each individual county, and you can actually narrow down not just the year, but you can do a time period. So I'm going to narrow my search down to 1840 and to 1839, so let's say. And I can choose all counties, or I can choose one county. For this one, I'm actually going to do all counties, and then for extra options, you can either group by county and year, or you can show strats for counties and aggregate and sort by year. I'm just going to stick with the default option that it gave me because for me it's way more easy to read. So I'm going to click submit, and it's going to show me a chart of the year of each individual county and the total number of slaves, and it gives you a more in-depth look at basically what we saw back in the browse and map section, but this just puts numbers on a page instead of just seeing the different color changes with the corresponding time period. And then the last option is going to be primary sources, and this basically tells you where they got all their information to provide you with the data that they present within the Texas Slavery Project. What I can see this being used for, a great example would be last semester I had a history class with Dr. Cole, and it was African American studies, and it was the history of African Americans within the United States. And one of a large portion of the class that we focused on was slavery, and I can see this being a great tool that can be used for this class in terms of completely understanding how slavery existed within Texas and how it progressed in certain years in terms of the more slaves went to Texas, or in later years how slavery kind of died down in Texas as Mexico was trying to outlaw slavery at that time period. So again, basically this is the Texas Slavery Project. It is very user-friendly. I would definitely recommend it if you haven't already checked it out. And I hope you enjoyed my blog post. Thank you.